Like, it's here. We have been praying and praying and praying for these 3 nights. And I just keep, it was like, it's 2 weeks away. It's 1 week away. It's 4 days away. And I'm like, yeah. And then last night, I went, it's tomorrow. What am I going to do? Well, here we are. I know that my expectation is so high. I've been praying for all of you. Prayer after prayer, believing that God's going to speak to you over these 3 nights. And before I get into my message, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about why this conference is called Within and how all of this came about. Because I think if you hear about it, if you hear me tell you about it, it might help you catch something a little deeper than you might have gotten in the first place. So I have no idea how many months ago, but I was sitting at my desk, and here comes Jessica Dudley, as she does every now and again. She'll come up to fill me in with the latest from the gym, and she gave me this beautiful card. Beautiful card, and she wrote really beautiful things in it, which I'm not going to read to you tonight or I'll get emotional. Plus, I didn't get her permission. But she gave me this beautiful card, and I have to confess to you that I'm not an art girl. I'm just not into art. So I like to look at it and go, wow, that's pretty, and I appreciate it for a one look. But I'm not the kind of person that goes, wow, look at the angles and what do you think it means where it's getting thin there, and what was the artist trying to portray? If I go to the museum, I look at the photo and go, wow, the painting, and go, wow, that's awesome. What's the next one? Wow, look, that is so super cool. Wow, that is me at a museum. So people that are artisty, like they look at the painting and they go, oh, and they start trying to find the meaning. So anyway, for you to know that. So I get this card, and it's beautiful, and it's so cool. So I stick it over on the side of my desk, and it just sits there for a little while. And I started looking, and I saw that, which it's right here. This is where it came from. But I saw that there's something in there. It's like this thing. I told you I'm not into art. But there's something in there. And I thought, am I becoming one of those? There's something in there. I just kept saying, there's something in there. There's something rich in there. And I really believe that God put these words on my heart. He didn't speak them from the sky. But I believe that he said, that's in you. There's something in there. That's in me. What do you mean that's in me? What's in me? What are you saying? Oh, am I in trouble? Like, what are you talking about? What's in me? And I began to see all of the giftings, all of the talents that he's placed on the inside of me, the things that I'm good at. But I also started to see, as soon as I saw those things, I'm a normal girl. I started going, well, I'm not really that awesome. Well, I do have that gift, but it's really not the best gift. And I started to see all of my insecurities and my fears. That's in there. That's in my fears. And the greatest thing that God has for me is in there. It's in here. So I called Jessica really quick. I said, Jessica, can we please use this for conference? And she goes, oh, Father. That's what she says every time she sees me. Yes, you can use it for conference. I want you to know this. God has placed things within you that will allow you to run after the purpose that he has for your life. And I believe that you can't see what that is because you have so much junk sitting on top. Wow, that's really critical, Pastor Sunny. You're telling me I have junk in my heart. Well, I saw my own. I saw my own junk and went, I can't be the only one. But this is the deal. God wants you to know how amazing you are. He wants you to know that he handcrafted you. And that's where we got the verse. That's where we got it. At the end of the verse it says, how well I know it. Your works are marvelous. How well I know it. Your bracelet tonight says, how well I know it. You're going to walk out of this place after 3 nights, and how well will you know it? You will be confident, you will be bold, and you will begin to run, not walk, after the plans and purposes that God has for you. So that is where all of this came from. That is what this whole conference is about. So if you have that expectation along with me, I really believe that God will meet us in our expectation.
That's right. Very good.
So after that long explanation, why don't I get started with my message? All right, the name of my message tonight is Life as You Know It. Life as You Know It. Man, isn't it nice when there's a message all about you? This is all about you. I feel like we stand up here sometimes and say, it's not all about you. Well, tonight, it's all about you. Let me ask you this question. Is anyone in here, when you were growing up, did anyone, their parents get a divorce while you were growing up? There's a lot of you. Okay. So mine didn't. Mine got divorced way later in my life. So all of my childhood years, I lived at home with my parents who were married. And I lived in a Christian bubble. My parents were so overprotective. They really kind of kept me in. And I didn't get exposed to the outside world a ton. I did a little bit. But this is the deal. The only view that I had of divorce was from television and movies. So it wasn't a very good view. Not that divorce is ever awesome, but there's all kinds of different things out there. So all I had seen were people yelling on the TV and, I hate you, and throwing things and all of that. So fast forward to later in my life, well, Jeff and I were dating. And so Jeff had moved back home from college. He was only there for a little bit. I went to see him at his house. And we were in a relationship, all of that. And so for some reason, I'm not really sure why, but for some reason, Jeff's mom had a ranch. Jeff's mom was on this side of the house, and Jeff was on this side of the house, and somehow I ended up in the middle. I have no idea how that happened at this particular terrifying moment of my life, but that is exactly what happened. Jeff's parents got divorced when he was really young, probably in elementary school, I guess, right? So I knew his dad, I knew his mom, hang out at mom's house, in the middle of the house. Are you with me? And the doorbell rings. Who could that be? It's not my house. I'm just looking. Where's Peggy? It's not. Jeff? Ding dong. Rings again. So I walked over toward the door, and the door had the little side lights, where you look out the windows. So I kind of looked out the window, and it was Jeff's dad. It was Jeff's dad. So all of a sudden I start hyperventilating. I was like, oh my gosh, Peggy's going to freak out, and they're going to start throwing things, and they're going to start yelling at each other. What is he doing here? Is he here to pick up something that he left in the attic all of those years ago? Like, where is Peggy? Where's Jeff? What is happening? So I'm fully hyperventilating, and the doorbell just keeps ringing, and no one's coming. And I'm edging forward, and I'm just trying to decide what I'm going to do. Like, I am freaking out. And so I just think maybe he'll go away. So I kind of peek out the window to see if he's still there, and he saw me. He saw me. So, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do? I have to open the door. What is happening back there? Where is everyone? So I kind of wave at the window, and I start unlocking the door, just hoping someone's going to come through and save me. Jeff's going to come and say, Dad, you cannot come in. Mom is not ready to see you. He's not coming. So I unlock the door, slowly open it, and I just kind of creep it open, and I shove my face in like this. Hey, Mark. I've got this is the door on my hip, and I'm shoved up against the other side. Hey, Mark, what you doing? Hey, Sonny. He's not a big talker. What you doing here? Well, and he just keeps looking past me. Am I supposed to let him in? Like, what am I going to do? I was freaking out. Like, Peggy's going to flip out. Jeff's still nowhere to be seen, so he says, can I come in? You could. is so nice out here. I mean, what a beautiful spring day. Well, finally, I just had to let him in. Well, lo and behold, here comes Peggy, Jeff's mom. And you know what she does? She goes, "Hey, Mark, how's it going?" They're embracing. There's no cell phones being thrown. No one's throwing punches. They're not yelling. It was insane. But you know what? All divorces don't end badly. What do you know? But see, I didn't know this because I had a filter over my eyes that blocked me from seeing anything except what I knew. See, I walked around with this filter for years. And the sad story to me, really, is that I judged people. I judged them, and I thought differently of them because I thought, wow, they're mean. They're mean people, you know? And I was afraid. Like that day, I was terrified, all because of filter. A filter changed the way that I looked at things.
Very good.
You know, that's what filters do. They shine light on different aspects. They allow a certain amount of light in, so it makes things either look good or make things look not so good. And you know that because this is the world of Instagram, isn't it? We are so good at taking selfies, right? So we just get on here and we decide that we want to look really good to all of our friends because we're about to make a post. And so we have to make sure that our hair gets, we turn on Instagram. I'm getting lots of mentions. Thank you, everyone. So we turn on Instagram, we flip it around so it's showing us like this right here. Okay, and so then we fix our hair. Hope no one's looking, we just fix it up. Yep, and so there's certain rules. Always shoot from up high. So we're shooting from high, we're just kind of looking at our lips, making sure everything's good. Is it good? Oh, you gotta check what's behind you because if they can see that your bed's not made, not good. So hold on, let me just make up the bed, just this corner really quick, and I'll stand by it. Let me fluff those pillows. Oop, my hair got messed up again. I don't know if that's the best angle. Let me see. Oh, telescoping chin. Never. The telescoping chin is always bad. So you get just right? I'm going to really do this. This is going to be awesome. And my hair's still not good. Okay, looking good. Smile, everyone. And then I have this selfie, right? Well, I look a little dark. Like, I didn't get much sleep last night. Looking a little dark. So what do? Filter! That is right. So you go to the next filter and you start going, oh, it doesn't do it right there. So you start pushing all of these things right here. Oh, too light, not gonna work. Oh, got washed out. Lark, that's all. Lark is always good. Lark is a good one. Man, I look really good. Okay, so I go to the next one. Crema, Ludwig. Amaro, ho. See, filters make you look awesome or not so awesome. And when I find the right filter, quickly, I save it and I write something awesome and I send it out so that everyone can see how awesome my life is and how great I look and how much weight I've lost and how great I did my makeup and how perfect my life is. All from a filter. But if you pick the wrong filter, there's a little bit of judgment going on the other side. You ever looked at Instagram and gone, ooh, did they post that of themselves? Surely not. A filter has a lot of power.
Very good.
You know, the deal with the divorce situation was my filter colored the way that I'm sorry, I'm getting all cuckoo. It messed up my perspective, is what I'm trying to say. The filter shaped my perspective. There we are, I'm back in. The filter shaped my perspective. And so I looked at all divorced people. I feared for divorce myself, right? through that lens. That lens shaped my perspective. And here's the deal. Where your perspective is really important because you live out of it. You make decisions out of your perspective. You make decisions that affect you. You make decisions that affect other people. Your perspective is very important. So you have to realize these filters, they shape your perspective. And the important thing is that if you don't hear anything else tonight, I want you to hear God's perspective is the only perspective.
Very good. That's right. Very good.
If it doesn't work, and I'll say this again in a minute because I'm getting ahead of myself, but if you can't filter it through this, it's not the filter that you want. But we're human, and we live life, and we're normal people, and we just end up getting these filters. They just end up developing over time, and they change who we are to be, not who God called us to be. They cause our heart to get all loaded up with all of this junk, and we don't see the truth. But tonight, I want you to see the truth. That's the whole reason I'm talking to you about this. The truth will set you free. And I want you to be set free tonight. So I want to talk to you about Joseph. Good old Joseph in the Technicolor coat. You know him? Joseph is the son of Jacob. Jacob is the son of Isaac. Isaac is the son of Abraham. So, we've known these guys for a long time. They go way, way back. And Jacob loved Joseph. He loved Joseph more than any of his other children. So much so that he bought him a coat. He bought him this amazing coat, and all the other kids are looking around going, thanks. And Joseph's just strutting his stuff. Dad got me this coat. Yeah. Jacob loved Joseph. But Joseph's brothers, they didn't love Joseph. So Joseph had this dream. One night he goes to sleep. He has this dream. It's about some wheat. It's very weird. This little wheat bows down to the big wheat. And so you just think, what in the world? But Joseph is really smart. He's gifted by God, so he knows what this means. So he goes, oh my gosh, my brothers and my dad are going to bow down to me one day. I'm the big wheat, and they're the little wheat. So because he's not the smartest one, he runs to his brothers. Does that ever happen to you? Do you ever get this dream or get this feeling that God puts in your heart or get really excited about something and you run to someone to say, listen to what God just showed me? Do you ever do that? Well, that's what he did because he was so excited about what God gave him. And he runs over and he says, hey, bros, you're not going to believe this. God just gave me this dream, and this wheat's bowing down to this other wheat, and I know that you're thinking, what in the world's the deal with the wheat? But that little wheat's you, and you're going to bow down to me, and it's going to be awesome. And the brothers didn't like that so much. So they got really mad. They got jealous. And you know what they did? They sold him into slavery. They said, hey, let's go on this journey. And they're walking around and they shove him in this big hole. They were going to kill him. But you know, those brothers, they had a filter. They were seeing through a place of hurt. I want to talk to you about the hurt filter. Have you ever been hurt? Sure you have. If you're hurt time and time and time and time again, that's all that you can see. They're going to hurt me. It causes you to lash out at people. It causes you to judge other people. But you know, the sad thing is you almost can't help it. So many things have happened to you. You've been hurt so many times that it's all that you can see. I want you to know tonight that you don't have to keep that hurt filter there. You may have been hurt a gajillion times, but tonight, God's going to remove that hurt from your life. The hurt filter, it's not a good filter. So the brothers want to kill him. They shove him in the hole, he's sitting there. They're thinking about, should we kill him? Should we not? What are we going to do? And here comes these slave buyers riding up on their camels. And they go, let's sell him. Let's sell him. Let's get rid of him. So what they did is, so that Dad wouldn't know, is they ripped up his coat. They put goat blood all over it so that they could take it back to their dad and go, sorry, he's dead. That's real sweet, isn't it? But you know, they stepped into this different filter. They stepped from being hurt into being insecure. Anybody insecure out there? Insecurity is horrible. Insecurity will block you from your blessing. And what he did was he lashed out. He was insecure. He didn't want Joseph to be king over him. He didn't want to bow down. None of those brothers wanted to bow down to their brother. They were insecure. You know, I want to tell you this. If you have insecurities tonight, if you're looking through a filter of insecurity, I want you to know this. The only way to step out of that is to begin to be happy for other people. That filter stops you from seeing something good in someone else. You got a new car? Man, I've been wanting a new car for a long time. Can't believe she got a new car. Can't believe it. Can't even afford to go to a coffee with me, and now she got this new car. That's insecurity.
Very good. That's right. Very good.
I've been wanting a baby for a really long time. Why is she pregnant? She doesn't even care. She doesn't even want a baby, really. That's insecurity. If you can begin to be happy for other people, even when you're not, you almost have to lie to yourself. You have to go, man, I'm so happy that you got a new car. That is nice. And as hard as it is, I'm so happy for you that you're going to have a baby. And you know what? You having a baby gives me faith that I'm going to have a baby one day. Because if God can do it for you, God can do it for me. See, that filter begins to move off of your eyes. So back to Joseph. Joseph gets sold off into slavery. He gets sold to Pharaoh, really, and Pharaoh's big guy, the man in charge, is Potiphar. So he becomes Potiphar's slave. He's Potiphar's kind of assistant, and he starts doing everything he can for Potiphar. Well, there are good filters in life as well. Filters that run in here. And Joseph had a filter of excellence. So Joseph did everything he did unto God, because that's a biblical principle. Because he was a follower of God. Because he let things go through this filter. So he was working for Potiphar, and he just kept doing this really great job. And so Potiphar puts him in charge of everything. Puts him in charge of anything he could possibly be in charge of. All of the food, all of the men, all of the workers, the army, everything. He's in charge of all of it. God accelerated him. He had a filter of excellence. Do you have a filter of excellence on your life? As you're stepping into a new place, into a new thing, into a new job, into a new friendship, into a new role as a parent, do you have that spirit of excellence on you? Do you see through that lens of excellence? We do everything that we do unto God, even though it might not be unto God. Colossians 3:23 and 24 says, work willingly at whatever you do as though you are working for the Lord rather than for people. Remember that the Lord will give you an inheritance as your reward, and that the master you are serving is Christ. He got a reward. He was elevated. He got a promotion. Okay, so then Joseph, is living the high life. He's in charge of everything, and he is walking down the street and goes into this house and looks out the door, and there is, across the way, beautiful Potiphar's wife. She waves. So she starts seducing Joseph. She's like, you are really good looking. I would really love to hug you a lot. Maybe we could be more than friends, if you know what I'm saying. And Joseph is like, no, 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 nope, no. So he walks away, leaves, sees Potiphar the next day. Potiphar's like, I am going to get this boy. I am all about him. It's going to happen. So Joseph walks up. She says, hey, Potiphar, what you doing? You want to do a little bit of hugging? And Joseph says, no, please, no. And she grabs his coat and she pulls him in. And she's batting her eyelashes. And Joseph's not dumb. He weasels out of his coat and he goes running. He goes running. And Potiphar's wife is so angry. She's so angry that she calls her husband and she says, hey, listen, Joseph was just here and he was so mean to me and he tried to kiss me. And it was inappropriate. And I can show you because I have his coat sitting right here that he was wearing. Well, Potiphar gets really angry and he sends Joseph to jail. So Potiphar's wife had another filter, right? We just keep going through all of these filters. Potiphar's wife was rejected. She had a filter of rejection. Anyone been rejected here? Oh my gosh, it's the worst. Like, how do I keep going? How do I step into the next thing? How do I really believe that I am who God says that I am when all of these people don't believe it? A filter of rejection. The thing about a rejection filter is it's like those video games. You ever buy video games for your boys and they have a bundle pack, right? It's that you get kind of 2 games in one. Rejection filter is insecure and hurt all together. What a gift you have if you have that filter. But you've got to learn to see past it. Again, Joseph was in jail. He's serving his heart out. He's working really hard. He becomes the warden's assistant and becomes in charge of everything in the prison. He gets elevated again because, again, his filter of excellence. But then he becomes human again. Genesis 40:15 says, for I was kidnapped from my homeland, the land of the Hebrews, and now I'm here in prison, but I did nothing to deserve it. Joseph began to see his life through self-pity. A self-pity filter. Does anyone have a self-pity filter? Let me tell you something. It is a party when I get upset. And I feel bad about myself. They're not even talking to me. They're over there having the best time, the time of their life. They don't even see me standing here. Pity party. A pity party. A pity party is the worst. And he was having a pity party. A pity party, a filter of self-pity, causes you to be isolated. It causes you not to be around the people that can actually deposit something of God on the inside of you. Self-pity filter, all bad. Joseph starts interpreting dreams in prison. He gets over it. He goes, all right, I'm going to step out of this self-pity thing. I'm going to stop looking through that filter. And he begins interpreting these dreams. And the dreams that he's interpreting, actually, it gets back to Pharaoh. Right? So Pharaoh goes, I'm having all of these dreams, and I can't sleep at night after I have these dreams. I'm flipping out. So these guys say, hey, we were just in prison, and you're not going to believe this, but there's this guy in there. His name is Joseph, and he can interpret your dreams. Like, he has this, like, voodoo, cool magic on him. And he was like, voodoo, cool magic, get him out here. So he gets out there, and he says, hey, interpret my dream. Pharaoh says that. You know what God says? Oh, not God, I'm sorry. Joseph says, hey, that's God's work. That's what God does. So tell me your dream, and I'll let God tell you what it's all about. Joseph stepped back into the word. He stepped back into using this filter. He stepped back into the calling that he was placed in. Everything has to go through this filter. It has to go through this filter. So he doesn't have to go back to jail. He stays out of jail. Pharaoh puts him in the highest position. He gets to wear his ring. He gets to call all of the shots. And suddenly, he's got his groove back on. He's back in the plan and the purpose that God had for him. He's walking in the ways that God called him to walk in. And his brothers, they make a journey to Egypt because they need food. And he sees his brothers, and it's like a punch in the gut. Those brothers that hated him, those brothers that sold him into slavery. But he's looking through this filter. He's choosing to look through this filter instead of look through the others. So he has a moment where he yells at them. He doesn't tell them who he is. They can't recognize him. It's been years. But then his heart is captured. He sees through this filter. And he says, hey, I'm your brother. And everyone busts out crying. I'm your brother. And he goes and he hugs them. You know, the coolest thing to me, the coolest part of this whole story is he says this: God sent me here, not you, to keep you and your families alive because a famine was coming. If you're looking through this filter, you can look back and see the hand of God on your life. You can see him saying, I drew you out. I drew you out. I drew you out. So if you're looking through the right filter, instead of going, why did God do this? Why didn't I get this promotion? Why can't I get pregnant? Why isn't everything working out for me? Why didn't I get that house? Why did I lose my job? Why? Those are the filters you don't look through. When you look through this one, I know that I know that I know. God, you drew me out of the deep waters. That's what David says in one of the Psalms. You drew me out. Can you look back at your life and say, you drew me out? Because that's the perspective that God calls you to have. Shift your perspective. Shift the way that you see things. Take those filters that you've been looking through and realize that they're there, but become empowered and move them out of your life. Move them out of your vision, because God has bigger things for you. I want to tell you this. God has a plan and a purpose for you. He's got the biggest thing ever for you to do, and you can't even handle it if you found out. You wouldn't be able to process it. You would go, there's no way that I can do it. But he's got something so big for you that if you can just begin to look through this, you will fulfill every plan and every purpose and every call. But tonight's the night. Tonight's the night that you have to remove the filters. I've got one last filter for you that was not in the filter of the story of Joseph, but it's the very most important filter that I could ever tell you about, and it's called the father filter. I don't know what your dad was like. I don't know if your dad was awesome and around all the time and loving and gave you lots of cuddles and bought you everything that you wanted and was just the best and warm and snuggly, and he was your pops. I don't know if your dad was working really hard at the office and trying to provide for you, but he was never really around and you felt like he wasn't interested in who you are or who you were. I don't know if your dad was mean to you and he said bad things to you that affected you for the rest of your life, that he told you that you weren't good enough. I don't know if that's what your dad was like. I don't know if your dad hit you, if your dad beat you, if your dad hurt you. But I want to tell you this, however your dad treated you is your father filter. And it is the most important filter to get right. It is the most important filter to get right. Because the way that you see your earthly father is the way that you'll see your heavenly father. And I want to tell you this. As you begin to remove that filter, you will see that your heavenly father is mountains above any amazing father on this planet. He is for you. He is with you. He is behind you. He believes in you. He is proud of you. He wants you to succeed. He thinks that you're beautiful. He is all in for you. There is nothing that you can do for him to take any of that away from you. He's your Father. He's your Father that loves you. And if you can get that right, if you can remove that hurtful, awful filter of how you've been treated, or maybe even that filter of you were treated great, and begin to realize that God has so much more. He values you. He just wants to show you off. He wants to put you on a pedestal and go, look, that's my girl. That's my girl. You're his girl. My dad used to kiss me on the forehead. And he'd say, how's my baby doing? You're my girl. That's my girl. That's what he's saying to you tonight. That's my girl.